You're listening to the AFTERBUZZ TV network, now the largest new media platform on the web, and your #1 source for after-show entertainment. From the AFTERBUZZ Studios in Los Angeles, California, presented by Maria Menounos and streaming live thanks to Akamai Technologies. This is AFTERBUZZ TV's The Bachelor After Show. We'll break down tonight's episode and get you all the latest news and gossip. And now, another post-game wrap-up show for your favorite TV show. It's AFTERBUZZ TV's The Bachelor After Show.
And a giant congratulations to Sean Lowe and Catherine Guidici on tying the knot. This has been the most amazing Bachelor season ever. Oh my God.
Oh my gosh.
No, I have to.
It's been okay.
I don't think you're right.
Why? What's going on?
There was no proposal.
What do
Did you didn't see?
No one.
I had a
there's
dream.
no love.
I actually had a dream that they ended up going with this Latin guy, and it started out with so much promise, and it felt like my greatest dream ever. But then in the end, I felt really dissatisfied with more questions than answers, and that's how I feel tonight. Because welcome to the Bachelor After Show here on AFTERBUZZ TV. It is season 18, episode 11 and 12. A melancholy start tonight. You guys have been with us all season, all 27 million weekly downloads. You've gone through the journey with us. You've seen the ups and downs. Andy, Charlene, Kelley,
Chelsea.
Danny's Chelsea,
Soy pobrecita.
Cathy.
Is that a thing?
That is very much
Cool.
a thing.
I got it right.
And finally, as the producers know, and we were saying it all season, maybe there's hope. Maybe he'll surprise us at the very end. But at last, we got nothing.
There's no surprise.
No surprise. Maybe our fans will. Hopefully we can give you guys a bigger surprise than what we got tonight, because I'm JC.
I think the surprise was the first time that Bachelor has thrown someone under the bus.
Cold-hearted.
Yeah. I also want to say that there was a really missed opportunity here on Nikki's part when Chris Harrison asked her, did Juan Pablo say he loved you, for her to respond with, no way, Jose.
Ba-dum-bum.
Da-da-da.
That would have been good. That would have been perfect.
We are firing.
I like this.
Guys, we got to do some intros across the table. Starting with the lovely
Ladies
lady in
first.
blue.
I am Catalina Kelley.
Ooh. And
That's a new one.
next to Catalina.
Hi guys, I'm Danny Hoyt.
What did you be, Danielle?
Daniela Hoyt.
All right.
Danielle. Is it Danielle or Daniela?
No, Danielle.
Thank you. What would my last name be?
Hoyt.
Hoyt.
Like,
And of course, no show would be complete with our closet Bachelor fan himself, who's been hanging by pins and needles, Stephen Lemieux.
wait, you just
Thank
say
you.
no show would be complete with.
With or
No show would
without?
be
You
complete
said
without.
it should without. Yeah.
Yes, no show would be complete without him.
But you said with. No show would be complete with.
It's okay, it's my language barrier. It's a thing.
I'm walking up, but I am walking off the show complete. All season long, I want to get into it. We usually start with our overall thoughts of the show and the season, especially tonight, the season. But I've defended him
I know.
You
all
have.
season, just thinking it's an edit, something lost in translation, whatever.
That was fun.
Thanks. I reached out to him. I tweeted to him. I had the most heartfelt tweet. Honestly, just so anything.
Can you read it?
I know I can't get to it right now. I'll repost it actually.
Okay.
I will. I'll post it on YouTube or just go to my Twitter.
But what was the gist of it?
It was basically, this is your forum for you to clear things out. We'll do the interview in Spanish. We'll talk it out, so that people can hear your side.
He wants to know media.
Yeah, no, but I just, because he's very vocal on Twitter. He's very communicative.
Yeah.
He talks back and forth to people, and I said, okay, I'll try it, and heard nothing. But
I
then
think he's also been Twitter silent recently after he made some remarks about.
that was
Yeah.
before that, and,
Okay.
and we'll get into that because
Okay.
tonight I tweeted Lucy, tweeted me right away. So it's just that I'm like, okay, that's cool. I don't know what to say. honestly, with tonight, and especially Chris Harrison didn't know what to say. And we have our theories on that, and some of us differ on that, so we have a lot to cover.
Speaking of Lucy, she had something to say.
Oh, yes, she did.
She had a lot to
I
say.
love Lucy. I love Lucy. Her song. I think we tweeted it out. You can go to our Twitters to see it.
She did this amazing original, just about the entire
uke.
season. She covered and talked about pretty much every girl that's been on, and then why Juan Pablo sucks.
And I was going to say, Steven, actually, if you don't mind, you should play us out with that song. So keep you guys tuned in.
How would I find it?
It's
If you go to my Twitter, it's one of the first videos posted in Photos and Videos.
Same here.
now. Okay,
Or
thoughts, guys.
Lucy's Twitter.
Overall thoughts on tonight's episode.
For the first time ever, whenever they say this is an after the final rose that you have never seen before, this is the first time we actually got that since Jason Mesnick's season. I feel like
Extremely entertaining.
yes.
There was so much going. We all watched together, and I think we all had reactions at different times. But there was constant noise being uttered from our mouths. There was so much juice in this. It was great.
So let's get into it.
I want to see the ratings tomorrow because I think the ratings are going to be through the roof.
Yeah.
You think?
Yes,
Yeah.
in a good way.
Okay.
It had good
for
ratings
everybody
all season.
But Juan Pablo and Nikki.
Yeah.
I think maybe I'm just disgruntled because he didn't answer my tweet or something. So I'm just like, I'm miffed. So let's get into St. Lucia. And of course, we open with his stock answers of, ay, 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 it's been a good time and whatnot. And
That's a really good Juan Pablo impression.
I know. Okay, so enter with Claire, and
So I have to say, I did watch the first hour with other people, and I watched them with people who were Team Claire, which I have not experienced because I knew that there were Team Claire people out there in the world, but you two, who I usually watch The Bachelor with, and all of my friends that I've been talking to, they're all Team Nikki. So it was definitely weird. I got in a heated argument about it. It was very heated. And I have to say that after tonight's episode, I like her a lot more. But at the beginning, I was like, she's so insincere. She just reminds me of those mean girls in, you know, high school, or like my stepmom and those kind of people that just like, they're nice to everyone's face, but they're hiding their meaner inner self.
well, for me, it wasn't anything personal towards Claire, actually. I just thought that there was more of a connection between Nikki, you know, a deeper connection.
I just thought she was fake.
She definitely earned a lot of America back
Yes.
tonight.
Yes.
For sure.
Everybody was on her side. I think she'll walk away from this in a positive light. You know, I think when she's seen on the street, people will congratulate her. You know what I
Yeah,
mean?
for
Because
sure.
the way she handled the end of it was the way I think everybody would want her to handle it. You know?
And do you think tonight's episode, especially, I noticed it right off the bat, it seemed like ABC, the producers were telling us a story with Juan Pablo's parents saying, you know, he can be rude, you know, and it seemed they were just going at this angle the whole night.
It was interesting.
I would like to talk about that. I was going to save it for news and gossip, but Jason Mesnick actually spoke out, and many of the Bachelor alum have spoken about Juan Pablo and this season and how they don't like him. But Jason Mesnick actually had a different tune when he spoke out about it. He says that Juan Pablo was made to look bad by the producers because he didn't propose. Quote, the previews and the commercials make him look terrible, and they don't have to do that to him. The producers want you to propose to somebody, and if you don't, they'll tell you, we will make you look bad. Jason said that the producers kind of forced him to propose to Molly. Melissa Rycroft. And he then, you know, that wasn't the right decision. Yeah.
right.
So
But he felt forced
into that. And so he spoke out. He's like, they told me that they would make me look bad. So I kind of wonder, you know, especially with some of Juan Pablo's comments about, you know, being homophobic and all those other things, if ABC wanted to distance themselves from him and they recut part of the end of his season to make him look bad.
Wow, that quickly that shines a lot of light on it for me. Because
I don't know either way. I honestly don't know whether he is this awful person or whether it was the Bachelor franchise all coming down on him. But I think Catherine even said it tonight at after the final rose. She's like, "Don't bite the hand that feeds you."
Right.
So that's the Bachelor Nation. All of the producers are the one that feed them, and it's being in the industry. I know how much producers can manipulate people, so it wouldn't be completely out of the question for all of the producers to, interview all of the girls before the Women Tell All or something and be like, oh, wow, yeah, he actually was the worst Bachelor we've ever had. So then the girls automatically think like, oh, yeah, he was the worst Bachelor, so like I can get away with saying that on TV.
Wow. Okay.
Very interesting.
Yeah, no, it just seems, wow, Cathy Kelley, such a critical thinker.
That shed a nice
that.
nice little angle on it for me. I have a question for you guys because so Chris Harrison's wearing an earpiece. He's getting fed questions and comments as he's interviewing Juan Pablo there. Do you think most of that was from his mind, or do you think producers were feeding some of those?
You just touched on something. Speaking about, because I've listened to Jason and Molly's podcast.
Yeah.
And he brought it up on their last one that actually Chris has fed a lot of the stuff through his IFB and whatnot.
But we know that Chris and Juan Pablo don't mesh. So do you think those were mostly his questions or some producer?
I feel like it was both of them, but ultimately Chris is part of that franchise. He's not going to bite the hand that feeds him.
Right.
So he's going to do whatever they want, and if they tell him be mean to Juan Pablo, he's going to do that. I think that they also don't really mesh together as friends.
It probably wasn't hard for him to do.
Yeah. So yeah.
Okay.
Yeah, wow. As you can tell, we've just totally already gone off the rails because there was so much to talk about.
Yes.
But I mean, we can, in the end, we're really going to spend a lot of time on After the Rose and our thoughts of the overall season, but just getting through our initial feelings before knowing what actually happened,
Yeah.
what our thought process was, like the fact of Claire and Juan Pablo's dad, who is I thought he was just this beautifully deep, he was like, oh my gosh, I want him to be
He needs
my
to do
dad.
voiceovers for commercials. I would buy whatever he sold. Whatever he sold.
He's kind of like this Anthony Quinn, and he's very steadfast.
Classy and elegant in his words.
But they all kept, and the cousin kept, where did his cousin come from?
He's the most vocal one. He was more vocal than his brother.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Which is very interesting to me.
Especially
We're talking, the guy with the braces was his cousin.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes.
That might have been because his English was the best.
I had a feeling that's why they were using the cousins. So,
But he seemed more passionate, even the way he was asking questions about like wanting, caring about Juan Pablo and wanting him to find the right, pick the right person.
well, what about Claire's mind frame during this? She was clearly in love, looking at the body language, she was grabbing the back of his head, kissing him, and feeling she was in it. She was in it, and the whole time Juan Pablo was still playing the game. What was going on? Why is it so different that when he does it compared to when Sean did it or when another Bachelor did it? Do you know where I'm going with this?
It's because I feel like the conversation that they had later, where he said that he could see their kids.
Okay.
So that implies that they're going to end up together.
That makes sense.
He said that he could see himself in San Francisco and that or Sacramento, and that he could see having a baby within a year.
No, 1 year and 2 months.
Yeah.
He was very specific with it.
So really,
in a year and 2 months.
Really sold it. Okay. All right. So did we get anything? We've all been team. Last week we said Team Nikki. So were we just steadfast? Did we possibly change our mind?
At the proposal, yes, I did change my mind.
Really?
Or the lack of proposal, should I say? Yeah. I'm not Team Claire by any means, but I felt for her in that moment because I feel like she was deceived by him, and
I mentioned in the fact that she was going to end up with the final rose, not our personal thoughts.
No.
No, I didn't feel like she was as comfortable with the family as Nikki. I think that was clearly obvious. She was comfortable, but I don't think she was
But
as
Nikki
comfortable.
had also met the family before, so that's why she was more comfortable.
Still, though, being a little older and she seems like she's pretty sure of who she is. Obviously, it's a weird situation, but I would think that she would be able to settle into it a little bit and it didn't seem like she settled in. There were just a couple awkward. One of the most awkward moments for me, and I wrote this down. I liked the way she met Camila at first, but then they were asking her if she speaks Spanish, and then Juan Pablo points out her mom is Hispanic, and she's like, my whole family speaks Spanish, and she's building this up. So I'm thinking,
She never speaks it.
right? She
Yeah.
could no, but she could bust this out. This would be a perfect time to be like, so I actually do, and so she builds it up. But no, I don't speak any Spanish.
We saw
like
Chelsea speak more Spanish this
Right.
season than we saw Claire, and Chelsea did Rosetta Stone or something before she came on The
Yes.
Bachelor.
So you're saying Claire should have done some Rosetta Stone. Okay, all right.
Juan Pablo too. Then the conversation with the mom. The conversation with the mom,
Snaps.
where she goes, she says he sometimes is very rude. He makes me cry, and Claire goes, me too. Like there was just several moments of her time with the family that was
Bonding moment.
yeah, bonding moments for sure.
And I just thought they were just jabs throughout the whole show
Yeah,
towards Juan Pablo.
They definitely, I think that regardless of whether Juan Pablo is a good guy or not, I mean, he knew what he was signing up for. He knew that he was supposed to, or not supposed to get proposed, or not supposed to propose to someone at the end. But like, that's usually what happens. And you fall in love, or you're trying to find the person that you're meant to be with. And so be honest about that. If you're not feeling it, I don't know. It was weird, but
I know we're gonna jump around because I know what we're feeling, and
Yeah.
because then for me, wouldn't you see the other side of that? Perhaps that he can't be not monetarily bought, but he's
more genuine.
he stuck to his guns, his integrity, his integrity.
yeah.
It just leaves us with so many questions.
And that's the thing. If you stuck to your integrity the whole time, and you were, I don't feel like we would have this many questions if he was being really genuine. I feel like he maybe was trying to, but he didn't let us in enough. And that was the hard part for, I think, a lot of people, is we didn't feel like Juan let us into what was really going on. And I know maybe some of that is the language barrier. I'll give him that. But I still think he could have opened up, because we shouldn't have this many questions right now.
I said that from the first episode before all this controversy. I said I wasn't that invested in Juan Pablo.
You did.
And that's because we knew nothing about him. And every other past Bachelor or Bachelorette, we have gotten their story, whether it's on the show or in the first packages on the first episode. We know their entire story. And I just wasn't invested in him. And I think that's because he didn't open up.
And
He never wanted to be vulnerable and share those things, which is essentially what he signed up for.
Or
and
he
was
doesn't know
supposed
how
to do.
He doesn't know how to. He doesn't know how to do it in the right way.
And bouncing forward, we were talking about, I think you brought it up last week or the week before, Danny, about the 5 love languages. And it could be that he's not the guy that talks about it. And Nikki brought up the fact that he's about actions.
Yeah. He's not a words of affirmation guy. Well, he's a besitos of affirmation guy.
Yeah, he didn't show us that he was a
Right.
good guy.
He's not. Yeah, he's an acts of service. You think?
Yeah, he shows his love and service and in his actions, what he does for people, perhaps. I'm still trying.
You know what Nikki did say at the end when Chris asked her, she said no, he hasn't said it, but he shows me through the things he does.
Right.
So you're saying he's an acts of service guy. That's like his number one love language.
I'm still throwing olive branches to the guy
I
because
know, you're trying.
I also feel like that's not an excuse that we didn't hear more of his story, because ABC has so much media training for these bachelors and bachelorettes that they would have pulled that out of him. And for how many times he's done interviews, they would have used, he's like, we filmed this for 600 hours or whatever it was, and you saw maybe 20 of them.
Yeah.
So there were probably so many interviews where either he did talk about his, past or whatever, or they just didn't care to get that out of him.
Or like I said, he just doesn't know how to show it. Like he just doesn't, you know what I mean? That's not he doesn't get that. He's not that guy. And, ABC just flopped on that part of it.
But they do these extensive just psychoanalysis on all these guys. They've done this for 18 seasons. They go so far. They would have known. They should have known.
I think it was a poor choice that they had to pick because of the whole controversy of not having any ethnicity on the Bachelorette seasons. So they picked someone who was not from America.
And
or
Des
the
let him go
United
early.
States, yeah.
Des let him go early, and we didn't see a lot of him, and there was a lot of outcry. So I think the combination of those, I agree with that.
Okay. All right, and we still got to move on to date 2. I mean, family date 2. We haven't even gotten to the final
The
dates.
actual dates, yeah.
Yeah, so with Nikki, and right off the bat, I noticed, and I think I mentioned, was it to you, Cathy? Or no, it just, No, it was actually, you weren't with us just yet. You were watching, you were cheating on us. No, I noticed that they seemed stiff at first, and that with the family meeting, and I've always been following the body language all season. And when it was Juan Pablo and Nikki, when they were with the parents, they were just facing forward, and it seemed just very stiff.
So what I've noticed is that Nikki and Juan Pablo, when they're together and alone, they have a lot of chemistry. But when there are other people around, they get really awkward around each other.
They were awkward with Chris on the couch. I wrote that down as well.
But I think that's because that was after.
Well, but still, that's
a
with
lot
other
of
people
stuff.
around.
Yeah.
If they're supposedly happy and cuddling, it was still awkward for me.
Could that just mean they have that much more in common?
Their
in
awkwardness?
an awkward way.
I will say something. When Juan Pablo first saw Claire, she ran to him and he kind of embraced. It was kind of like right before Nikki stepped off, I don't know if you heard, his voice got super high pitched. He's like, "I'm really excited to see Nikki."
Mm-hmm.
He was a little more into it. And that for me was when I kind of was like, okay, I know where he's going with this.
Nikki knew, for whatever reason, it seemed like she knew that he was going to pick her.
She did.
Like this entire season, he must have done something that was off camera where he ensured her that she was going to be the one, or that she was always going to make it to the next week except this final week, because she always knew. She's like, and I don't think that she would have been that confident going into tonight's ceremony, and going up there and being like, "I know it's you, it's us together, blah, blah, blah."
Mm-hmm.
She wouldn't have been that confident as she was if she didn't think that it was going to be her.
Just more questions. And I didn't even say hello to AfterBuzz TV. If you guys are watching us live, chat roll, hello, and send us your thoughts. I can see the chat roll just going crazy right now.
I know it's late, but we still have a lot of people in chat.
Yeah,
we do.
well, because they want to figure it out just like we did. And for those not watching us live, go to YouTube, iTunes, let us know your thoughts. Did he do the right thing? Did ABC do the right thing? Are you as confused as we are?
Do you think it's a conspiracy, or do you think that Juan Pablo is a jerk?
What Cathy said. All right, so moving on, Nikki's date, and once again, anything from the family, anything we got?
I would say that I actually thought that Claire was more comfortable with the family than Nikki was. I think that Nikki is always really nervous around the family. She's so comfortable around him, but especially when she met them the first time and then again today, she just seemed kind of like she's, on her best behavior, I guess.
Somebody who did look more comfortable to me was Camilla. I don't know if you noticed, there was one shot where they were sitting next to each other and Camilla was just knocked out, kind of laying across Juan Pablo.
Yeah.
And she was very comfortable with Nikki being there.
Well, I think it's because that's the second time she had met Nikki.
Still, though, she
I
was
know.
comfortable,
But
and that says something.
Nikki's also a kid nurse and a pediatric nurse, and so I think that Nikki knows how to interact with kids better than anyone other than Renee and Cassandra.
Yes.
There was something that was interesting for me. Juan Pablo's mom asked Nikki, what would a weekend be like? And she kind of explained it. And the first thing she says, well, I know he has Camilla on the weekends. I don't know if that was kind of like a test from a mom to be like, do you remember like what would a weekend look like? And the way she explained it. And that conversation was very interesting. That shed some light on.
They actually did have deeper conversations, and
Yeah.
the other girls were complaining that they didn't know certain things that you would know after this amount of time, and it seemed like Nikki and him did have something. Like, he was interested in finding out about her, and she, vice versa.
They talked about what real life would look like. Like, that seemed like to me she was regurgitating a conversation that her and Juan Pablo had. And so for me, that was like, that shed some light for me on how much they had talked, yes.
It's great that you actually caught that. I was still zeroed in on the fact that how difficult he is. The parents once again reiterated how difficult. Mama Nikki, Mama with Nikki said once again. The mom says how difficult he is. Is that just because ABC showed us that part, just to build that case against him?
Yes and no. I mean, Nikki goes, "Do you think he's sure?" And the mom's response, "He's pretty sure." That's never a good sign.
No.
You know what I mean? The mom even said he's only pretty sure. So no matter how you edit that, that's how they feel. It's going to come across in something they say.
It's the edit, though. It's
Right.
like, you can say it like, "Oh, he's pretty sure," or "Oh, yeah, he's pretty sure," but she can't legally say it's you, because there's still a choice at the end of the day,
But
and
even
she's
like the
held to a
vocal
contract.
tone and the body language, like I
But
didn't
it's also,
get a lot from it.
There's so much that goes into editing that you don't think about, like the music and the exact second it's cut, and if it's if they add in an extra millisecond of, space where the person's just sitting there and looking at the other person, there's so much that goes into editing that you don't think about that can change your interpretation of how a conversation went.
Yeah, no, I felt that actually. It's funny that you mentioned that. It was during Nikki's date, during their family date, and they mentioned about him running away. And if you listen to the music, it's the dark music.
Yeah.
Is it?
Yeah. So it's
They set the
subliminally
tone
there's
for things. And we know from past seasons of The Bachelor or Bachelorette that they have edited in people, two people from Bachelor Pad, two people are having a very private conversation and they edit it so it looks like there's a third person listening in when that person was taped on a completely different day.
Okay.
They've also done things where they'll tape interviews. You know how they tape interviews on dates? They'll tape those and then they'll use a clip. Like one time, I think a couple seasons ago, they used an interview clip from a past season of that contestant.
And you caught that?
Yeah,
Wow.
people caught that because they're wearing the same clothes that they are in other shots.
I gotta mention this because I always say our fourth host is the fans,
Yeah.
and our chat roll is really heated, and they actually disagree with the stuff we're saying.
Yeah.
Okay.
And it's Joseph Boza, and he doesn't believe they edited him to look like a jerk. He was like that with the comments he made about gay people, and
Oh, no,
we're gonna-
I definitely agree that those are jerkish comments.
Yeah.
I think that he is a jerk, but I think that they could have edited him to make him look like a good guy because I know that they've done that in past seasons. Jake Pavelka.
Right. No, and he had another statement, was it on Twitter this past weekend, about people with mental disabilities, about his retweet and whatnot, and he said he made his bed and he will lie in it. So there's just this divide between we've seen it, we know a lot of people in the franchise, and we've heard that, a lot of times not what you see isn't necessarily the exact truth. If they do say these things, but they can be told in a certain way where it creates a story.
I will also tell you that there are a lot of people in Hollywood who put on a front on Twitter that they are nice people and they are not nice people. So don't believe everything that you see on social media.
Did something happen recently?
Sounds-
No, I'm just saying.
We'll have to dig into that with our after show.
After the final show.
Okay, no, but I want to talk about the opinions. Because Chris, he has these little moments with the audience, and we had a lot of Bachelor alums. Sean and Catherine were there again. Okay, I love Sean. I think he and Sean or Catherine are fantastic. Why were they there again, though?
Because they were there to shed the positive light, to be like the positive side, so ABC can show them off.
I think they wanted to show that couples do come out of this.
Yeah.
Because that's what they base their entire franchise on. And I think that had they not shown that, they would have lost a lot of viewers for future seasons, the naysayers who think that this can't work out.
And I think they wanted to basically reinforce the process, reinforce that the process works. What I thought was interesting with all those people, there was only four people talked, or 5 people talked. Kelley, Catherine, Sean, and Des said something.
This was also the first season where they had girls or, past contestants from that season on the after the final rose.
Yeah.
Usually they keep that more intimate because there were a couple times where we saw glaring eyes from the girls that are, clearly skeptical. I wouldn't
Charlene
feel
and Chelsea.
comfortable if I went out there with my new not fiance but boyfriend and saw 6 of his exes sitting 20 feet away. That'd be awkward. I couldn't kiss him in front. That'd be weird because the entire season you're trying to hide whenever you kiss that person from the other girls, and then you're 20 feet away from them. You know that there are some people who still have feelings, Charlene. So,
Love it. Cathy, you are on fire tonight.
sorry, I'm heated.
And I was going to say, Chris asked a question to, I forgot who it was, if it was someone in the audience, where he said, should the girls, whoever he picks, accept the proposal? Has he ever asked that in other seasons? See, there's a beef there.
I think he doesn't like Juan Pablo, and that's very obvious. And that's something that we were talking about it during the show while we were watching. That happens on TV. You can throw someone under the bus if you have the power. Chris had the power. I equated it to the X Factor when Mario Lopez and Khloe Kardashian were hosting together. Yeah. Mario Lopez, from what I've heard, didn't like Khloe Kardashian, so he threw her under the bus on many occasions so she looked bad. I think that Chris Harrison did ask, even if Juan Pablo is a jerk, I think that he's a jerk, but I'm saying that Chris Harrison asked him certain questions, just like poking the bear, essentially. Like he's prodding this. He's making Juan Pablo look worse. If you notice, even though Juan Pablo said, can I talk? Can you let me talk? Chris Harrison was actually the one that interrupted Juan Pablo in the first place. So he knew that Juan Pablo would be like that. He knew that, I don't know, it's just maybe trying to show America his true colors, whatever the excuse is. I don't know. I feel like they intentionally made him look bad, especially with the part where they asked him, he's like, oh, I know you have a surprise. Chris Harrison knew that there was no surprise. He just wanted to make him look like a dick.
That's when I believed you.
Yeah.
When they did that part, that's when I believed you that, okay, they're out to...
It's produced.
To throw him underneath the bus.
This is another piece of news and gossip that I had that I'll just share now. But a source, and E-Online, I know that they're very strict with their sources. They have to get it confirmed by 3 different people. A source told E-Online that the producers hated Juan Pablo this season, especially after the anti-gay comments. Quote, everyone on the show is just so over Juan Pablo and cannot wait for the season to be over. The source then added that the show's execs were especially livid when Juan Pablo's anti-gay comments made the week before Sean and Catherine's wedding overstepped and, ended up taking over that spotlight from this whole wedding that they've produced. A second source then added that the people on the show considered Juan Pablo to be the worst bachelor ever. I think that the producers also lost a lot of money this season because one of their biggest sponsors is Neil Lane, and since we didn't get a proposal, I don't know that they got the full amount of money.
Yeah. Well, we didn't even get to see Neil, which was the first.
We saw like a hand
we saw his
holding.
name.
Yeah, we saw a hand holding the
box.
ring, and that was it.
And then Chris mentioned him live before he cut back to the show. He said, he's got something from Neil Lane. Yeah, that was the only 2 mentions we had.
But usually we have a whole segment on the guy picking the ring.
Yeah.
It's not a real season without Neil Lane. I'm just saying,
it felt awkward.
What
it
if
felt
Neil
weird.
comes out and makes some comments? I would like to hear what Neil has to say.
It was a very pretty ring that never got used.
I know, barely saw it. So, we still have to talk about, I think, a pivotal part of the show. Claire and Juan Pablo's final date, where it all really went down, where she gave him the out.
So we've been talking about this entire season. There are many girls that have brought this up, and they said that they'll have concerns and they'll voice them, and Juan Pablo changes the subject. And this is exactly what happened, I think, during Claire's date, is she was voicing her concerns, and he seemed like he addressed it for a second and then changed the subject.
It was frustrating for me because you could tell she was starting to feel something. Her woman intuition was starting to roll, and so she was starting to ask the right questions. And I was frustrated I think along with a lot of people in America felt the same way. She let that go, and she let herself get talked out of it. She didn't continue pressing like she should have, because she might have got some clarity right then and there and not had to walk out on you know what I mean? And what?
No, it's just the word clarity, because that was Sean's season.
Clarity, that's right, clarity. It was just, you could see that she was starting to get it. Yeah. And I wanted her to keep going with it because I thought we might have heard more.
But then that was the dick move, is when he reassured her and said, no, I see,
You brought it up earlier.
myself in Sacramento, and I see
and
us having
a year
kid.
and 2 months.
Exactly.
And then all of a sudden, they put on Josh Krajic and they're in love again. What was that?
In 30 seconds, they went from yes.
That made me mad.
He distracted her. That's
Yes.
exactly what
He scooted
the distraction
closer.
was.
His first move was, let me scoot closer. And then he put on Josh Krajic.
And of course, what was said in the helicopter.
Yes. I'm sure you guys both probably saw what the pilot and the producers came out and said what he said.
A fan sent it to me. I don't know if it's the same thing through Gossip. Was it Gossip
What
Cop
did he
or something?
say?
So she leans over, and this is right before the cameras and the audio's there. She leans over and says, "Just tell me you love me." And she wanted him to say it off camera, like, tell me you love me now, so I know it going in. And he said, "I really loved effing you."
Okay, you did. You knew it. Okay.
That's what he said to her.
What?
I got that from a
That's-
fan just right about an hour before
they
it went on.
bleeped that out, right?
No, there wasn't even. There was no. She just goes.
The mic's rough.
They cut to her and she says, "So right before we landed, he leans over and says something to me that I don't want to repeat. It was very vulgar." Because she says, "Just tell me you love me," and he replies with, reportedly,
How did we find this out? Like, what is the source on this?
via gossip right now.
Is this the Bachelor producers leak this, or
I read
Claire
it on.
said
I read
this?
it on Wet Paint an hour ago,
Okay.
which usually is pretty close to accurate. They had it.
Because she's come out. So was that during the overnight dates that happened? Because
When it was mentioned, it was when they got off on the.
no. I'm just because she said that she didn't have sex with him.
Oh. Well, okay. So then she goes on to clarify and talk about hooking up.
Clarify.
I'm just trying to get as many puns as I can, okay? She goes on to say that they hooked up, and she used the word
Right.
hook up twice. It can be interpreted to mean different things, but for me, when she says that, it means they had
Okay.
sex.
Probably.
Whether
on
it was in a hot
overnight,
tub,
yeah.
whether it was in
No,
Vietnam,
because
the
she's come
ocean.
out and she said that they did not have sex in the ocean.
But
So it was in a
notice,
hot tub.
but here's the thing. Notice that she is stuck with that same line that it was quite offensive what he said, but she will not say what it was.
Why is that?
Exactly. What else
Because
could it be?
If I was a woman, I wouldn't want to go just get dumped and say, you had sex with me and then you dumped me on national television.
No, but what he said was so offensive. By the fact that he's saying that, don't
So
you think
then
it would have
she
got
has to
sympathy?
admit that they had sex on their overnight date. She's not going to do that. And then if she does do that, then people hate her. It's such a double standard. People hate her if she does say that they had sex. And
Not
that he broke up
necessarily,
with her.
because she could. It's not that she would spin it, but in a way, it would be just the way he's being villainized this season. That she was taking advantage of the situation.
I think if she had done it the opposite way, she would have looked like an Ashley Fraser who looks crazy after the Bachelor franchise made
So
her
you
look
think
crazy.
she played it the right way?
Yes. People are on her side, and
So whether that's what said
people
or was
don't
not,
think she's a slut.
she was being
So,
respectful. Okay.
Yeah.
And so let's move on to Nikki and let's get through this. Let's get out. There's so much. Nikki, the final date, and this is where I noticed she had this glow, like the winner's glow. I even mentioned to Cathy because this is when you joined us.
A pregnancy glow?
No,
I know.
no, just her makeup. She was just glowing, and I was like, I'm starting to feel the hero edit. I'm feeling it more than ever now, and starting to see it. And she was saying that her feelings were mixed, and I'm like, they're still trying to throw us off as they always do every season. But no,
She knew that she was going to be the final one. Something, I don't know how.
She had a piece. She had a piece about it.
Yeah.
You could see it on her face.
okay.
What'd you think I was saying?
I don't.
But it's also, as if you've watched any season, you know that you're the winner if you're going there at sunset. Because they can't tape after sunset. So if you're going there at sunset, you're, the final one. And unless he chooses no one, then you're going home with the Bachelor.
And remember, so it's all perspective. Juan Pablo can't say I love you. She said I love you on the date. But Sean had an ability to make the people feel reassured, slightly not, because Nikki was crying at the end of the date, because she said I love you and didn't hear. She knows
She
that.
felt vulnerable.
Her face after she read the card, or he read the card out loud, and she was looking for him to say something, and he says nothing. And
Right.
she looks at him. That said everything to me.
So was it an edit? The fact that she's crying, and I mentioned it to
No.
you, Danny, that he's walking off kind of smugly. I thought.
Yeah, you did mention that. No, I don't think that's an edit.
I think that he was very happy, but I think that's a lot of situations. Is I've been in relationships where like I don't know, you're in a moment and like you want to hear something and then they think that it's a great date or whatever, so they're probably happy and then you're upset because whatever you wanted to happen didn't happen.
Miscommunication.
Yes.
Okay.
That happens in normal
I
relationships.
feel like it happens with Juan more than I've ever seen with anyone ever.
There's a lot of miscommunication.
And it's not the language barrier. He's a terrible communicator.
You're right. I don't know if we got that in a YouTube comment or some. I read it somewhere that was sent to me. We have some fans in Venezuela, and they're saying no, not all Venezuelans are like this.
Yeah.
you
Yeah,
can
I did
only
see that
use the
somewhere.
language barrier for so long as an excuse.
Okay, so they were laying on the beach, and she asked this leading question: "What happens when you don't have private islands anymore?" Do you guys remember this? And he answers, and I hated this answer so much, and I hated even more that she didn't follow it up and press. She goes, "What happens when you don't have private islands anymore?" Asking basically, when we don't have this, what are we gonna have? And he goes, and I hated this. I'll have a bed and a TV and watch movies and sports and an office to watch baseball by myself. Never including her, never mentioning, like, this is what our life will look like. We'll go to the park. We'll have Camilla.
I thought when he was originally saying that is like, we have a bed, we have TV, we have movies, we have sports. Like,
he said Al.
I don't think he said Al until the last thing where he said
it.
I have an office.
I was typing it. I was watching and typing as he said, I'll have this. I'll have this. He didn't mention her, and that's not, I don't think, what she was looking for.
Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Maybe I'm wrong. There's a small pause, but I'm like 99% sure he said Al all the way through, and I hated that.
I'm sure fans can DVR that right now as we're on, and if they can send us the answer, and so we can find out.
But she did look unhappy with his answer.
This guy can't catch a break. The season can't catch a break. So, the final rose.
Yeah.
And of course, they come up. She comes up in a boat, and we see Claire.
Yeah.
And bravo to her. I think just tonight, she's been up and down all season for all of us, but just tonight, I just applaud her because she just handled it. She stood up to him. She stood up for herself.
She stood up for every woman on the show.
There it is.
That's what she did.
Get it, Cathy. When that pivotal moment when she put her hands out and stopped him from hugging. It was like was he thinking, this is what I didn't get, was he thinking that he could just say, like, so I'm going to have to send you home.
That was the
and
worst
then
breakup.
hug her,
yeah.
And everything's okay, and peaches and cream, and she's gone.
Yeah.
Like, he moved in for that. There was no emotional moment. It was like a disassociation. He said it and then just, like, moved forward in one sweeping motion to hug her, and she's like...
Because if you remember, the last couple girls that he sent home were very nice and cordial about it. Renee, Chelsea...
Almost too nice and cordial now that we see this.
They really liked him, and they're like, oh, well, I hope he does find happiness. So I think he was kind of expecting her to be the same way, and he thinks that he, is on cloud 9, and...
And that's the moment America said... Okay, Claire.
Yeah.
We got your back a little bit.
Yeah.
At least I did.
I thought, Cathy, you were going to say something there. Did he mislead her? Because someone has to finish second, unfortunately.
I think that he misled her, but the way that their story and their relationship progressed, I feel like it was... many girls have been in that situation where... The guy, like, just going back a few weeks ago, when he made her feel bad about the ocean thing, when that was just as much, if not more, his fault. If he didn't want his daughter to see, he shouldn't have done it. But he made her feel like she was wrong for doing it. He, like, my friends use the term slut-shamed her. That's what he did to her. And... he had no right to do that. And so I think that he put her through hell, and she expressed that. He put her through hell this entire time, making her feel like a slut for something that he did. And then he reassured her the entire time, oh, like, we're gonna have babies together, and we're gonna move in together, and blah, blah, blah. And then to dump her and not really give her a good explanation. He did, however, I do have to say the one thing that he said right was, will you let me tell you when I made my decision? Because I don't think that he made his decision until that morning.
You're probably right. Would you have listened if you were her? Would you have said, okay, tell me?
I might have wanted an answer, but if he was that much of a dick, I would have been like...
Well, and he showed how much of a dick he was, because then as soon as she walked away, he said, I'm glad I didn't pick her. I wanted to punch him. I wanted to punch him in the face when he said that. And people in the chat room are talking about that right now, and people are tweeting about that. Like, everyone, he lost whatever small percentage of fan base he had left when he said that, I think. And
that's tough, that what you just said, because I've read in other publications, it just never stops, especially this season, that he was looking, we've talked about it, that
was an edit, though. That's something that producers chose to put in to make him look bad.
But he still
I know that he still said that, but I guarantee that other bachelors, maybe not bachelorettes, but other bachelors have probably said just as awful things, and they have cut it out to make them look better.
I'll give you that.
All right. Okay. All right, we can spend so much time. We got to get to Nikki.
Wait, we have to say something about her comment. When she says, I would never, how did she say this? I would never want you to be a father of my children.
Yeah, after I saw how
Gosh, that was about it. That was her.
You get it, girl.
That was her left hook to the jaw as she's walking away.
How would you say, compared to other number 2, people that finished second, how did this one rate for you? Because let's say when Ben Flajnik walked off and he's just like, don't hug me, he's pushing Ashley away, and just the bitterness, the pain, because I thought she was going to cry, because she's been very emotional, but it was so hard on her that she couldn't even muster tears. It was like she was numb, she was stoned by just what had happened. And the things that she said, like you said, Cathy, she just stood up for all women, and there was just so much fire in there.
And the fact that she wanted to cry and she wanted a shoulder to lean on, but it wasn't going to be Juan Pablo, I think that says a lot. Because a lot of the time when you're getting out of a relationship, that person is who you want to talk to. It sounds stupid, but that's the person that you want to talk to, and she didn't do it. And I've heard in so many situations in The Bachelor that, you know, since your entire life revolves around this person for months, you think that they are kind of your only hope or only person. So that, I think it took a lot for her to walk away from that.
I mean, there's just so much pain here. I mean, people are on the chat roll, they're saying that the next person will have to save the franchise.
Save the entire franchise. The weight of the franchise.
Andy, you better step up.
I don't necessarily agree with that.
Not the whole franchise, but it's got to be like, it's got to be awesome. It's going to be awesome.
But that's the thing, is that if you think about all the seasons, they don't have that great a track record. The Bachelorettes do have a better track record, but recently we have had a lot of couples that have stayed together, and I think that Juan Pablo, took that to a halt. He ruined the streak.
The streak,
if you will.
He blew it.
Yeah, because it was hot for, well, you know what? We don't know that. It's not playing out the way we would have liked to have, especially how Chris Harris, you know, they wanted a result and they didn't get it. I would think it would be fantastic. What if they ended together?
There's a line that I want to say from later on that I don't think that it's going to work out.
All right. So let's move on with
Nikki.
the proposal. And did we really feel it? I mean, Danny, what did he quote? In his somewhat proposal, telling Nikki that she's a winner?
He quoted Dumb and Dumber, for goodness sake. I don't even know if he was doing it.
I don't think he did it on purpose.
I don't think he did it on purpose. I would have maybe liked him a little more if he did. Let me just say it. But he quotes Dumb and Dumber, one of the all-time most quotable movies. He says, after all this, you know, I'm not 100% sure I want to get engaged to you, but I'm 100% sure I don't want to let you go. I like you. I like you a lot. He pulls it out and looks at her. I lost it.
Courtney Robertson did plagiarize Sex and the City on her season, so it does happen.
We can't give him that much credit.
No.
I don't think that was a quote from Dumb and Dumber, but I lost it because that just it wasn't. If you were Cathy, if you were standing there and he follows up a non-proposal with, because I like you a lot.
I would want to hear I love you and that it's been you, but this isn't the first time where we haven't gotten a proposal before.
Absolutely.
I just have to say that. People are making it sound like this is horrendous and that he ruined the entire franchise just because he didn't propose. On the Bachelor Australia, which I think is the best season ever, he didn't propose at the end of the day. He did say he loved her and that he wanted to continue their relationship, but I don't think that it ruins the franchise at all. They're there to find love. They're not there to get married. In the first couple seasons, it was never about the proposal. I think that it became that over time. There was that expectation, but I wasn't disappointed by a lack of proposal.
All right, so final thoughts, because Stephen, we're almost done with the first part of the show. We've got another half. No, it's shorter. Any final thoughts? I mean, our DVR stopped right in the kiss. Remember, like, oh my
That
god!
Did you
awkward
snap a
kiss.
picture of it?
I did.
It was
JC
like
will
a
put the
little
picture on
tongue.
his Twitter. Yeah, it was frozen with almost half tongue.
Yeah.
The look on her face was the same look for me after he read the card and it said, "I love you, Nikki," and she had this look of like, okay, well, like you're still here, but I'm not 100%
tough.
happy with you.
Like, to not hear I love you back, that is really tough. And now it's been 4 months and she still
and
hasn't
she
heard
still
it
isn't
back.
hearing it. What in the world?
I do have to say, my last comment is the blue on blue. No. Blue, one person wearing all blue and another person wearing all blue
I didn't
next
like
to
it.
each other
In a green jungle.
didn't really work.
We're
But
kind-
we're different blues.
Those are different blues. Those go to better together than theirs.
Okay, we planned better. Okay, good. All right.
Yeah.
So let's move on to After the Final Rose.
Yeah.
With Chris Harrison, I don't know if you guys noticed this. When he started the show, the deep sigh, he's like, here we go.
Sean had a deep sigh also.
It just...
Yeah. Like I said, a source said that all the producers, and I think Chris Harrison is kind of considered, he's been with this franchise for 12 years now. You know, he didn't like Juan Pablo either.
That's
so
okay. I think he's
he's
allowed
happy
to.
that it's over.
Yeah.
Happy to start anew.
And they wasted no time. Like, he usually has I thought he was going to recap all the way from season 12 on to today, but no, he went straight into to Claire, and right away he asked about the painful memories, about what it brought back, what she felt. And I wish she would have stayed for like a showdown, not a showdown, but a confrontation between her and Juan Pablo.
I think we all want to see it, but I respect that she chose not to, because she stuck to her guns and saying, like, you know, when she didn't really give him a chance to explain, and she kind of shut that down. She was okay with it.
But Cathy, is there another side to that story?
I did hear from some of the girls on this season on Twitter. They thought that she, I apologize that I don't have the actual tweet in front of me. I saw it earlier and then I couldn't find it again. But they thought that she didn't want to see him and confront him because she watched the Women Tell All, and that kind of changed her decision.
Okay, so she did want to let him have it, but
Yeah.
it's just done.
And then she
Yeah.
was just like, I'm washing my hands. I'm done with it.
Yeah.
Yeah, no.
To quote a fun song.
So I wonder what's the future for Claire.
Yeah.
Now she's part. You know what? Here's the thing. You've always brought this up, Cathy. That now she's part of the Bachelor family,
Yeah.
and
Well, she's part of half the Bachelor family, Team Claire.
okay.
They are a nation divided.
But think of it this way. But they get to know each other on a different level.
Yeah.
And I'm sure. She's a very pretty young lady, and I'm sure that she's gonna meet. There's gonna be a long line of suitors there for her.
Honestly, looking at the news and gossip, because I have to look at it every single week, there are so many girls that they get proposed to. Renee is example A. They find a guy before they're even, on the Women Tell All.
Right.
And I think that Claire is no exception. I think that she will be married or engaged very soon. She's a catch.
Yes, I think we've learned that throughout the season. I think there's more to her. Honestly, I think she probably got a bad edit. I really, really think, kind of like Michelle Money.
I don't think that. I think that since at the Women Tell All, for Michelle Money, all the girls were like, no, we love Michelle.
No, that's what I mean.
But at the Women Tell All, there were girls that were like, oh, I like Claire.
Yeah.
And then there were girls that like, no, I hate Claire. I like Nikki.
Oh, really?
So
It's
that's
still divided.
Yeah.
All right. So good luck, Claire.
Good luck, Claire.
Not much to go with there, but
Yeah.
let's bring out Juan Pablo. When he brought out Juan Pablo, and to me, he looked just. This process is weighed on him.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, he is.
He looks like
done.
he's aged.
Yes.
Yes.
He looked haggard. He looked beat up by the process, and he just wants to be done with it. I mean, he's even doing the countdown on Twitter that he's just like, one more week and I'm done. So let's talk about the showdown between Chris Harrison and Juan Pablo.
The best thing about this for me was that Chris never let him off the hook when it was just him, and when it was him and Nikki. He rephrased his questions. He moved him around. He never let him off the hook.
How awkward is that, though? Like, honestly, if it were real life, I know that it's not real life, but say that, you're in a relationship and you bring someone home, or, you're being introduced to someone's parents or something like that, and they're like, are you in love with my daughter? And they do that right in front of her. That's awkward. Like, you're being put on the spot. And then to have that question, even though you answered it, asked 6 more times in front of that person, that's awkward.
It is, but it's only awkward if it's awkward between them two, and that lets us know that it is awkward between them two. If it's not, if she was honestly okay with where they were at, she might have spoke up and stuck up for him and said, you know what, I'm okay that he hasn't said those words.
She did.
She did
But
stick up to him, I thought.
not in a way that, to me, that sold me on what she really believed, and that to me almost seemed like it was fed, like that was set up.
So you say they're in on it. She's in on it
maybe
as well.
because I don't think that didn't come across as authentic to me, and that just did not come across as authentic.
I
I'll
would
leave it
like
at
to
that.
talk about the rumors that have been circulating online as well, that she's not actually in this relationship anymore, that they are not in a relationship anymore, and she's only making it work until this last press tour. So she gets a little bit of press, like she's on the cover of Us Weekly or whatever it is, and then after a couple months she will be done with him and she will wipe her hands clean. But
To quote a funny song.
when they first saw each other and they kissed, it didn't seem like
Yes.
it was a quick peck, and that's something that we've never seen from them before.
That wasn't an I'm okay with you
That's
not
not
telling
an
me you
I'm in love with
me.
you. Yeah.
Right.
Like I'm so glad this 4 months is over. Let's show everybody how great of a couple we are. That was very awkward and staged and forced, in my opinion.
And he had her arm around her the entire time, but I didn't see the affection on her side.
There was one cut, and I don't know if you guys noticed this. When they scooted closer, she put her arm underneath his. He had his hands like this in his lap. They were holding hands. He made a point, and then he went away from holding her hand and didn't go back to her hand again, at least that we saw. So there was it was just little signs like that.
The
for me.
little things, absolutely. I'm the biggest believer of body language.
Yeah.
Just those little gestures. Yes.
I do want to say, too, that Nikki was looking good tonight. Her dress, that is what you wear to the women tell all if you get dumped because you want to make the guy feel really bad about himself. And I didn't see any of those dresses last time.
Now, Chris kept pushing the love thing.
Yeah.
Is that even though Juan Pablo is polarizing, went up, but is it fair? I know that is the end result of The Bachelor, but was it fair? Just he tried in so many different ways just to say that that he loves Nikki, and he still would not. He was steadfast. No, 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 no. What if this is all true?
Asking him 6 times isn't going to change his response. Honestly, I'm so conflicted on this because I do think that Juan Pablo is kind of a jerk, but I also think that the Bachelor franchise is making him look worse than he really is. Like, I feel like Chris Harrison was kind of like prodding and prodding and prodding. And I know that's because that's what most of the fans want. They want that proposal. And Chris Harrison, I feel like he almost had to catch himself and say, you signed up for this. You signed up to get married at the end of this.
Well,
and
and
you
then Sean
aren't
backed him.
fulfilling the...
Yeah.
Because Sean is part of the Bachelor franchise. If you speak badly on them, they have the power to make sure that you're never on TV again.
But wait, but Nikki answered for them in that moment. This isn't realistic. Is it? Is this show realistic? We have our Sean and Catherine's, but at the core, it didn't happen. He's not going to be forcing him. He's not going to be forced to say, "I love you, Nikki." You know, I just don't see it being right on both sides. I don't see it right that Juan Pablo was so closed off, but I don't see the fact that they were hammering him so much to say it. You know that. Go ahead.
Well, whoever guest 6 is here on the chat roll, nailed it on the head, and that's exactly how I feel. They said all of Juan Pablo could have closed all this up and shut up Chris Harrison if he would have just said, you know, I'm definitely falling in love with her.
Yeah.
That would have been fair.
You know what I mean? Okay, Chris would have been like, thank you. You gave us what we're like. This is what everybody wanted to hear, because that's what he was saying. This is your time to shine, and there was no moment of shining at all.
I think that he also knew going into it that every producer there, Chris Harrison, all the girls, all hated him. So I think that he had his defense up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So it was basically I don't want to say Latino pride, but it was just there was this pride. You're
He
not
was
going to get.
defending himself, and there were a couple times when we saw that clearly. He's like, I mean, I don't know. If I want to watch it again because I feel like there were just a couple times where he seemed like he was defending himself.
I did love, my favorite part was when it came back from commercial and Chris goes, well, we're here and you can clearly see they are engaged. They're happy in love. Nikki's in love. Juan is too, but he's afraid to say it. That was my favorite part. He started just saying it for him anyways.
I loved it. I thought it was hilarious, but that was a dick move on Chris Harrison's
It was,
part.
and then, so here's
that
my
makes
question.
Nikki feel like
Yeah,
Shit.
Nikki stopped smiling at that point. At that point, she was stone cold towards the past contestants, towards Sean, Catherine, all the whole panel.
because if you were considerate of her feelings at all, Chris Harrison wouldn't have said that.
They must have been so in his ear. Chris, gotta get it out. because-
See, and that's my question. Was that a Chris statement, or was that somebody in his ear saying, "Say this"?
Can we talk about? I didn't write it down, unfortunately, but there was one line that Nikki said that made like everything seem fake. Is she said Chris Harrison asked her like, what is the point when you walk away from this? How many months does it take you of him not saying I love you to walk away from it? And she said something along the lines of, well, when it doesn't happen, or when it doesn't feel right, I'll walk away. It wasn't if it doesn't feel right, I'll walk away. Like she had a time. She's like, this is gonna end.
So she had a timeline. She
It
just didn't
sounded
vocalize
like it was gonna end eventually.
Wow.
Just the way I interpreted
So
it.
does that add to the conspiracy?
A little
Of
bit.
her being a plant or
of her sticking with
Sticking
him
with
for a
it for the
while,
press and
and
whatever.
then honestly, she looked like a victim in all of this. It to me, she looked like a victim. The way that it was done, edited, whatever it is, she looked like a victim because she's still standing by him, but he hasn't said he loves her.
Yeah.
So is she kind of like she's that girl that. You want him to say, you want her to end up with someone good, someone better for her.
But here's I'm frustrated. It kind of made her look like a not
Weak.
very smart girl.
It made her look weak.
Yeah, and
But I think that
that's-
she's doing it for the cameras because we know that she's not she is a smart girl.
Well, we will see.
Yeah.
I guess we will see.
I've never seen Chris so rattled.
Was he rattled or was he just?
Aggressive.
Yeah,
I don't
he
think
was
it. I don't think it
aggressive.
rattled him. He was aggressive. I don't think it rattled him. I think he played and said the things that America wanted him to say. In my opinion.
Yeah, he did.
He
for
said
sure.
what the majority of people feel, and that's where I think and I said this. I think when we were watching, I said I already love Chris Harrison. This just made me like him even more.
Nice.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, so with that said, done and happy about it.
Yeah.
Let's move on to quickly the Bachelorette. And Cathy, go ahead.
I mean,
Celebrate.
Andy, Cathy, Andy.
I called it from after show 1 of this
You
season.
did.
If you rewind back, she even said the exact quote that I said. She's
Say
like,
it.
I'm a district attorney and I have everything going for me in my life except love. And that's what I want at the end of the day.
This
Right.
episode right here. I told
You
you. I was
pulled it
watching
up.
it yesterday. Cathy did call it, so I'll give you props
Yeah.
for that. She said, "I've been fighting." What did you say? What was the line you said? She's like, "I've been fighting crime, but I'm time to put it all."
Aside for a husband or something like
Yeah.
that. Yeah.
And did you notice, now, first off, do you think that she may have a little bit of extra pressure on her? Because we have short attention
yeah.
spans. We have short memory in the Bachelor world because Sean and Catherine and Des and Chris, they're great, but now all of a sudden, like you said, the franchise is in trouble because of Juan Pablo, but is there extra pressure now on her? Is she going to be hit hard every week for the next couple months because
Maybe
of
a
this?
little bit extra pressure, but I think that it will be very refreshing to have a well-spoken person in the
Yes.
spotlight. Someone that we know her backstory. We don't know much about her dating life, unfortunately, because Juan Pablo didn't get deep into those things with any of the girls, it seemed like. Normally we know someone's backstory, whether they've been hurt, whether, their family, that kind of stuff. But I'm looking forward to this. And we know that she's well-spoken, but it also seems like she's had a little bit of media training already because they know that they have to clean up after this season. And her answers, they were all making fun of Juan Pablo. And yeah.
Of course, she has media training. It's called law school. She knows how to talk. She
No,
doesn't-
but they have media
I'm
training
messing
as
with you.
well.
I agree. She was my favorite girl on this season. I could not be more excited.
I thought Chelsea was your favorite girl.
Yeah.
No, I mean Chelsea is great, but I was with you. I had nothing but lavish compliments for Andy from show 1 that we did. I'm invested, and this is something we talked about with Juan Pablo. We didn't feel like necessarily invested in him finding love. I'm invested. Like I want to see her find somebody, whether they want to go to Atlanta or she even said she's like, I love my career, but it's not my priority.
Yeah.
I could see if she finds somebody, even leaving her career to follow this person.
I don't
if
think
she
she
really
would
finds
leave.
love.
She would not leave her
Leave
career.
it- okay, leave her
And
city. She
I
could
also
leave Atlanta.
think that she would no, because the bar test is really hard to take in other states.
But
I don't
she
know.
would pass- she
She
is-
would make the guy move there because she is a
She
lady
is
boss.
hot and smart and gets it. She gets it.
Yeah.
And it's clearly apparent from day 1, even before the media training for answers.
She's
she
a
gets
catch,
it.
and I think that all of the guys, unlike the girls this season, will stick around and not leave her hanging. Like, I don't know.
There will be
They
some
won't
good.
leave.
The guys they pick for her, I think will be. This could be very.
Hopefully, there'll be a lot of smart guys because she needs someone who challenges her.
Yep.
I think that
smart, well-spoken, and confident type people, because it's got to be.
I don't
Sounds
think
like
there's going to be a
someone I
lot of
know.
dancing dates this season, though.
Sounds like someone I know. Thanks, JC.
Steven, I was thinking about you the whole time, buddy.
I do want to say, though, a couple weeks ago, we were kind of wondering whether her fight with Juan Pablo would hurt her chances, but I think that it actually helped her case because, okay, sorry. Okay. So I think that it helped her
It's midnight.
case because the Bachelor franchise, the producers, Chris Harrison, all hate Juan Pablo so much that I think that they liked that she told him off. Even though some of the guys that I know who watched were like, "Whoa, I would never date that."
Oh, that's amazing.
Yeah, I still am sticking by my guns. She will be on Dancing with the Stars this fall. I just see it happening. I know we're already
She's
moving.
gonna be the worst dancer ever.
Okay,
She said she's a terrible dancer.
We saw.
We
she's
did
a
see
terrible
that like
dancer.
little two-step she tried to do.
Speaking of which, any other thoughts with Andy before we say our final predictions and get out of here?
Does she remind you of Dez a little bit?
No,
No, I mean, Cathy was.
Somebody posed the question. I want to see what you guys think.
I don't think she reminds me of Des at all.
You actually said that she reminds you slightly of Catherine.
In that when tonight, after the final rose, they were cutting from Sean and Catherine to Andy, and I was like, oh, they have the same skin tone and kind of the same cheekbones and the same hair color and the same ombre. Okay.
But Catherine doesn't have those dimples, those Andy Dorfman dimples.
Wow,
They
really,
have the
Danny?
same teeth. Going back and forth.
All right, all
They
right.
could be cousins.
This is gonna
So-
be good. It's gonna be great.
Final thoughts on tonight? Good.
It was juicy. It was great. It was entertaining from top to bottom.
Yeah, our brains are broken. Let's move on to predictions.
Yeah.
And now,
Oh, we didn't do
your
news.
AfterBuzz TV.
But we can do predictions first.
AfterBuzz TV News.
Okay, so news and gossip. I already covered a lot of this with, Jason Mesnick speaking out, the producers talking to E! Online. But I do want to talk about a couple more things. We did talk about Lucy's song very briefly that she uploaded to YouTube. Already, I think, has like 50,000 views on it, but it was hilarious. If you haven't checked it out, you definitely should. Danny and I posted it on our Twitter page. I think you retweeted it as well, JC.
Yeah.
But Lucy also has that on her Twitter page as well. Lucy was pissed and live tweeting tonight. I want to read some of her tweets. The first one that she said is, I'd rather have Molly the dog pee in my mouth than spend 1 minute in the fantasy suite with Juan Pablo. Hashtag Bachelor Nation. And glad he didn't pick her, ? Bleep you, Juan Pablo. Sincerely, all of America. Hashtag douchebag. Hashtag Bachelor Nation. So I loved her tweets. If you're not following her on Twitter, you definitely should. Another girl from this season has a little love stalker issue on Twitter. Chelsea, sorry, Danny,
you're good.
has found her next suitor on Twitter. Mike Donahue has been campaigning on Twitter to go on a date with Chelsea. There's been this viral hashtag Chelsea and Mike.
Mike Donahue.
Yes, and she eventually said that if he ever makes it to Ohio, she'd get ice cream with him. She said, you've got some pretty killer friends at MJD543. Let me know when you stop by Ohio and I'll show you the best ice cream in town. Hashtag Chelsea and Mike. And then he replied, this rose is red, Juan Pablo is blue because he can't stop by for ice cream with you. Hashtag Chelsea and Mike. He's a true poet.
You know what? I have a very, very good friend named Mike Donahue, but he lives in Nebraska, so that would have been funny.
Oh, you thought it was him? Okay,
No,
all right.
I think this guy lives in the South.
Anything else to close out the season?
Yes, last piece of news and gossip. This is something that the Bachelor franchise does a lot, but Bachelor Gives Back. This is one of the charities that they work with. It's going to be March 15th in Hollywood, California. The event says, grab your girlfriends and dancing shoes in the name of charity for the ultimate ladies experience with Bachelor Gives Back and the Hollywood Men. General admission tickets are $30 and meet and greet tickets are $100. So if you would like to meet some guys that have been on The Bachelor and have an extra $100, then go and spend it at bachelorgivesback.eventbrite.com.
Please tell him AfterBuzz sent you.
Yes, please do.
We can get a commission.
I don't think we get a commission.
No, we won't. All right, so finally, yes, Steven.
And
Predictions.
now, your AfterBuzz TV predictions.
I'm keeping it short and sweet. I said it last week and I'm sticking by it. Andy will find love. Mm-hmm. She'll find Dancing with the Stars, and she will be on GMA as their legal correspondent in 2015. I'm saying it again.
I like that.
It's a bold prediction, Cotton. I do think she's going to find somebody. I think that... Steven like that. It's a bold prediction, Cotton. I think that she will find love. I think it will be a dark-haired guy, similar features as her. I think that he will be like 6'3" or taller. And I don't think he will be in law. I think he will be a well-spoken guy that like owns his own company. He'll be an entrepreneur or something like that.
I think that I'm going to be very jealous of whoever she ends up with, and I think that she should send me her rejected guys. Her rejected guys.
Okay, got it.
Her rejected guys. I didn't mean that.
Freudian slip?
No, not at all.
I'm kidding.
But yeah, I think that she's going to have a good crop of guys because they're going to want guys that can match up to her, and that's a really hard thing to find. So if you have any leftovers, please send them my way.
And a fan is asking me, what is GMA? That's Good Morning America, keeping it in the ABC family. So that's it.
That's
Yeah.
it.
We're wrapping it
wrap.
up. It's
I
the season.
can't wait until May.
May 19th.
Was it 19th?
Yes.
19th.
May.
Something.
Middle of May.
Middle of May.
Okay, we're out. So finally, Danny, it has been a pleasure working with you all season. Oh, the song.
This is Lucy. How many views does it have, Steven?
About 100,000.
Drinking red wine.
Okay, we're going to do it quietly. Danny, it's been a pleasure. Thank you so much. I can't wait to see you in May. Well, I'll see you before that.
Yeah.
But where can they find you?
You guys can find me on all the social networks at Danny Hoyt. It's my name below. It's just my name. And I just want to say thank you to all you guys for the tweets, the comments, a lot of people that have been recurring. Thank you for allowing me to join and talk to you guys every week.
And of course, my sister from another mister, Cathy Cupcake Kelley.
You can find me on Twitter at Catherine Kelley. I cannot wait to be back next season. It'll be fun.
And Steven, will you be back next season with us?
If I'm alive.
Okay, that was a morbid end.
I'm just messing. Definitely, yeah, guys.
Okay.
It was a sad Bachelor. I gotta be a sad outro.
Morbid.
We'll send Steven to counseling. You can find me at JC Rubio TV on Instagram and Twitter. So,
Where can we find your pants?
oh,
We have a little surprise for you guys.
And for Danny, Cathy, Steven, I'm JC. Cathy, take us home. Bye, everybody.
Bye.
From executive producers Maria Menounos, Kevin Undergaro, Phil Svitek, and the entire AfterBuzz TV staff, we would like to thank you for listening to the AfterBuzz TV network. To watch or listen to other after shows and post comments or questions, be sure to visit AfterBuzzTV.com. I'm Sir Richard Wentworth, and this has been a presentation of AfterBuzz TV.
Buzz you later!
The views expressed herein are those of the hosts only and do not necessarily reflect the views of AfterBuzz TV or its owners or principals.
Thank you for watching AfterBuzz TV on YouTube. For more of your favorite after shows and interviews, subscribe to our channel here, and be sure to share your opinion on the episode in the comment section below here. We'd love to see what you guys are buzzing about. Thanks again. Buzz you later.